On 26 September 2024, this year, all world leaders will be converging in New York at the UN headquarters to discuss one of the most disastrous global health threats of our time, antimicrobial resistance. The meeting is referred to as the United Nations General Assembly High-Level Meeting on AMR, and it will shape the AMR landscape for the next couple of years. The event will provide a convening platform for the heads of government and states, government ministers, and other key political leaders to discuss approaches to address AMR at a global, national, and local level. The UN member states will commit to new targets and next steps to address AMR from a health approach featuring human health, animal health, environmental health, and other key areas. The last high-level meeting on AMR was held in 2016, and the political declarations made then had a lot of catalytic actions, including convening of an ad hoc interagency coordination group on AMR by the UN Secretary General, and the subsequent development of national action plans on AMR in many countries. However, despite the many milestones that we have achieved, AMR still remains a largely ignored threat and a neglected threat, especially in our African continent. One of the key reasons is that there was no sustainable mechanisms to follow up on the commitments named then, and the targets set were not specific and measurable. The accountability language that was used in the resolutions made then was also very weak, and key stakeholders such as civil society and the youth were not engaged. This time, we have to do things differently, and we the youth stand up to be counted.
For key ask for the UN General Assembly, as you may know, youth, we clamor for our voices to be heard. Most importantly, the African youth. We want to make sure that the global agenda for AMR reflects the African continent reality, and to ensure that during the deliberations, the AMR priorities, the certain AMR priorities are tailored towards African continent issues, and also we have to make sure that we identify areas where youth can also engage and make sure that these areas can be built upon, we can build upon this certainty. So for me, I would say the UN General Assembly deliberations must ensure that the youth voices are acknowledged, are respected, and also must be reflected in the resolutions and the outcomes of the UN General Assembly.
My major expectations for the United Nations General Assembly on AMR, a key one I would say is increased efforts towards resource mobilization in AMR advocacy, because without resources, you can't really kickstart any campaign. You can't really implement any campaigns. So I would say increasing efforts towards resource mobilization for AMR advocacy.
We need representation from various high-level meetings so that we can actually contribute our thinking towards the various agendas that have been brought up by the various discussion platforms in various organizations. So those are the areas that we need support and also attention.
The General Assembly can be able to reaffirm the commitments of the countries. They can call the countries to reaffirm their commitments towards engaging youths in matters AMR. Youths should be engaged in the policy development, in the actualization of the policy development, and this can go a long way in averting the AMR crisis.
We're looking at drafting a joint African youth position statement on the upcoming UN General Assembly on the high-level meeting on antimicrobial resistance. This will ensure that the voices and perspectives of African youth is effectively represented in global discussions on antimicrobial resistance.
I'm so glad that this is happening at a very critical juncture when we are gearing towards the United Nations General Assembly high-level meeting on antimicrobial resistance. So Africa CDC has started consultative meetings, series of consultative meetings to discuss the position of Africa in regards to antimicrobial resistance, on what is going to drive the conversations at the high-level meeting in September. So one thing that we have observed is the missing of the youth voices. I'm so glad that right now they are working on a position paper which we are going to review, and then Africa CDC will come in and see how we can best support the voices of youth in antimicrobial resistance, and how we are going to incorporate them in decision-making discussions.
Efforts to mitigate antimicrobial resistance have progressed at a very slow rate in the couple of years, while the burden of antimicrobial resistance continues to grow significantly. It is time for our governments and other major stakeholders to rise to action. It is time to do things differently. The youth will be here to hold you to account.